Hey everyone. This week our topic is student affairs and college counseling. Um, Last week we talked about school counseling, specifically in the K-12 setting, and I really enjoyed that because that's what I'm planning on going into as my specialty. However, I've thought about in the past possibly being a college advisor or a college counselor, maybe after I was in the school system for a while. So I was really interested in what I could learn reading through this chapter. So there were a few things that interested me, and also some things from the podcast that Dr. Jason Miller talked about that challenged my views of college counseling, or either gave me some new insight into the career. So there were a few things that I didn't really know about college counseling, or I had an incorrect preconceived notion about it. One of the things that I didn't know about college counseling was that they allow external people, people from the public, to come in and use their counseling settings. I really didn't know that. I was the kind of person during my undergrad career that I would walk by the counseling center or the affair center, and I would see students in there, most likely, with a professional, and they would be meeting. I never really saw anyone that was from off the campus in there. But Dr. Miller talked about how they invite people from the public to come in and seek their services. Another thing I didn't know was that some college counseling centers charged. I always assumed that fees were covered under your tuition and what you pay to go to a school, because as you know, we as students pay a lot for our education. But then again, you don't think about how the professionals make their money. They have a job. They need to have a way to make their salary. And the school, in return, needs a way to pay their employees. So it's kind of a fine line, and I see why Dr. Miller says it's a challenge for universities in trying to figure out if they want to charge or not. But I just found it interesting because I didn't know that any college campus charged for those kinds of services. Um, Another thing, I also thought that college counseling was more hands-on. From the past, I assumed that it was more interactive. Let's deal with students. And although it is, there's also a lot more clerical work, paperwork, forms that have to be filled out than what I thought. It seems like there's also some administrative work with the job besides specifically sitting down and talking with students about their careers and where they want to go. There's also more focus on psychological and psychosocial needs than I once thought. I thought that college counseling was the student that would walk into the office. They had an issue with the professor. They had an issue with their class schedule. From the past, I maybe took the advisor's role and merged it with the college counselor a little bit, instead of seeing the college counselor standing alone and being able to address the issues that are going on socially and mentally with that student that might be halting their potential or their growth. So there actually is a lot more focus on issues dealing with thoughts and behavior than what I thought. Um, Another thing was the varying skill levels. I always assumed that in a college counseling office you would find a professional, a group of professionals, and then you would have students come in, they would need help or seek guidance. But actually, it seems like the college career counseling student affairs office actually has a varying level of skill levels, and that is because of the involvement of students doing their practicums and internships there. One way that you see those varying skill levels is they allow students that are just starting out to take on more basic problems, whereas the professionals will take on the more hardcore or extreme issues. And that really just shows you how any environment can educate any level of individual. I was a little bit surprised that there were so many practicum students that were allowed to be involved in the counseling center. I was surprised that there was such a large group of them because they would most likely remember a student if they were to see them elsewhere at a student life event on campus. And I felt like it wasn't a negative, but it could be an issue when dealing with dual relationships or issues that arise because of that. I think it's a potential issue for those trainees and the clients that they have to be careful They need to take the intake forms and screen the clients diligently to make sure that there's not going to be a constant interaction between the practicum trainees and that student. The final thing that I really learned from the podcast or that challenged my beliefs is the environment. I used to think that the environment was stable and that it was just this room filled with professionals that had been through a ton of schooling and that knew exactly what you needed to do to get your future career. But after the podcast and reading, it kind of taught me that the environment is fluid. The offices can change because you have 20, 30, or more practicum trainees moving in and out per semester, possibly. And you also have professionals that don't stay in one place as long as others may. So there's a lot of fluid situations going on in the counseling office. There's a lot of changes that could take place. So it's a profession that you have to be able to adapt very well to, not only to changing student dynamics, but the changing dynamics of the actual office or the university. Some things about the actual job. Some things that I would enjoy about the job would be getting to work with professionals, getting to work with people that are more mature. I want to go into school counseling because I love to work with youth, but I also love to work with people my age or people that are older because they seem to have more wisdom that you can glean from them, or you could apply more of their wisdom and their training into your life and how you approach a situation. And I just like the level of professionalism and I think the maturity that this occupation can offer. I also like how college students, for the most part, are more independent. They're more individual. They, most of them, have a general idea of where they want to go, whereas it may be more difficult to pull that out of a student in a high school or middle school or elementary school. Um, Another thing I think would be interesting about working in this field is the level of disclosure. I feel like once these students get away from their past, their parents, people they used to know, they may disclose more because they're forming a new identity. They might not be as consumed as what others from their past thought about them. I feel like the issues they face may be more genuine. They may be issues that are presented up front and issues that might be more challenging to deal with. Something that really causes you to think and puts your skills to the test. I also like how a college counselor has the opportunity to be very collaborative. You have your own peers there that are approaching this field, and you also have people that have been in the field possibly for many years. So there's a lot of opportunity for um, you and colleagues to have a lot of interaction and to learn from them and how you can incorporate different things into your work. Um, Including just working with you being the college counselor, you could get to work with the advisors, registrars, the professors, that kind of thing. And I really like a facilitative environment, a good environment where relationships can be fostered between the people that are trying to help the students. Some of the challenges would be at my age, I'm still kind of close to the age of many of the students. So you have to deal with the issue of the students maybe not respecting you as much or seeing you as much as an authority figure or someone that has the knowledge to lead them. But I found that college counseling was really intriguing. It is something that I do consider possibly looking forward to in the future, but it definitely has skills that match up with other specialties across the board.